Hello and welcome to The Signal, Workplace NL's health and safety podcast. Workplace NL is the Workers' Compensation Board in Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada. The focus is to promote safe and healthy workplaces, provide return-to-work programs, and offer compensation to injured workers and their dependents. This series of podcasts will provide you with the latest information on how workplaces can protect the health and safety of workers. Please enjoy the show.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Deanne Feltham-Scott. I am an OSH educational consultant in prevention services at Workplace NL. Today, I welcome John Dinh. John is the workplace mental health educator at the local branch of the Canadian Mental Health Association here in St. John's. Today, John and I are going to be talking about the importance of communication and language and how it matters in workplaces. And this podcast today is part of our Psychological Health and Safety Week that we have every January as part of our education and awareness of mental health and the importance of creating workplaces that are psychologically healthy and safe. So psychologically safe workplaces with positive communication have staff that are more engaged, more productive, more efficient. They tend to have better mental health as well as physical health. And workplaces that take care of their workers' psychological health and safety, they have lower staff turnover as well. When we create that culture of positive communication rather than, I guess, that culture of silence, we are able to deal effectively with problems. We can address the issues that are present in the workplace, which will help us to avoid any type of incident from occurring in the workplace itself. So the way that we talk about and communicate our overall mental health as well as mental illness is quite powerful. When we're talking about mental health, it's important that we make sure that we use language that is based on respect and civility. It builds trust and collaboration, as well as enables positive interactions and relationships in the workplace. So welcome today, John. So glad to have you here.
Thank you, Deanne. I'm really glad to be here. Thanks again for inviting me.
So as workplaces, we want to have staff that are engaged and have good overall health that includes physical and mental health, because as we know, there is a huge connection between the two.
Yes.
We want them to be happy to come to work, and we want them to see how valued they are as an employee. And we also want all staff to be recognized for the contribution that they're making to the overall goals of the business, how we do our work, and the interactions that we have in the work. So when we don't talk about mental health, we really pass up a huge opportunity for making workplaces psychologically healthy and safe. For us being able to create that nurturing space where everyone feels supported in where they are in their current mental health. So talking about mental health is an important step to take to creating this type of workforce. Awareness, education is an important first step for any organization to take. So what are some of the ways that we can encourage people to talk about mental health in the workplace?
Yeah, well, Deanne, you want to communicate, listening and acceptance in the workplace, right? Listen to the person without judging the person as weak. Again,
a no judgment zone.
No judgment. Mental health problems are common.
Yeah.
1 in 3 of us will experience a mental health problem or illness in our lifetime.
That's right.
Most times people experience them, I think 75% will occur before the age of 24.
Yes.
The World Health Organization has identified depression as the number one leading cause of missed time or absenteeism in the workplace. And, we spend about 60% of our waking hours in our workplace. So we're more likely to see or experience mental health issues in our workplaces.
Yeah.
Or see them in our staff or experience it ourselves. So we need to educate ourselves that mental health problems are not due to a weakness or laziness or a character flaw or a personality defect. We shouldn't be critical of people for having mental health symptoms or become frustrated with them. Mental health issues and problems are a real medical condition. Sometimes they're brought on by a lot of biochemical,
That's right.
physiological issues,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we should treat them as any other physical condition, right? So some things you can do in the workplace to encourage people to talk, put up posters or, advertise your services within your workplaces that you, like any other physical occupation health and safety initiatives. Things for mental health, right? Celebrate mental health events like Bella's Talk Day or Mental Health Week or Mental Illness Awareness Week, If you have completed a mental health first aid course or maybe assist applied suicide intervention skills training, display in your workplace your mental health certificate to show that you are trained in mental health first aid, or display your assist sticker in the workplace.
Yeah.
Get people to ask you, what's that for?
Yeah.
Get the conversation started. Let people know that you have this training and you're a supportive person and someone who you can talk to if you're experiencing some mental health concerns. If your workplace has a mental health and wellness committee, post information or send out information to employees about the services, the resources available, or how to access them. Maybe you can offer some training to employees and managers on how to start the conversation. So mental health first aid training is a great training, and it teaches us 5 basic steps in terms of having that conversation. So assessing the situation, listening, giving reassurance to a person, and encouraging professional help and supports. CMHA has a number of courses. I always got to put a plug in for CMHA,
Absolutely.
Yeah. But we do offer a number of courses for workplaces under my program. So Co-workers First is another one. Not Myself Today is another program. It's an evidence-based program for workplaces to help, talk about mental health in the workplace, build understanding and awareness, reduce stigma. And one other final point I just want to add there in terms of encouraging people to talk about mental health in the workplace. Be careful when we're asking people, don't use questions about how you're doing as a greeting. Mm-hmm. For example, a lot of times we might say to a person, how are you doing? But we're using it really as a greeting, as hello.
Right.
If you're going to ask someone how they're doing, be prepared to talk to the person about how you mean it, as you're concerned about the person and you want to know how are they really doing. And be prepared to talk to the person if the person answers you and
that's a really good point.
So a lot of times in a
good point.
workplace and in our lives we ask the question, how are you doing? But we're not really expecting an answer. But when we ask that question, make sure we ask it in a way that we're showing concern and we want to know how are you doing?
That's right. And that brings us to the next question about, how do you talk to someone that you think might be having a mental health issue? I mean, as an employer, even when we've created this supportive workplace, we've developed policies and procedures that acknowledge psychological risk factors. We still have some staff or coworkers that might not feel comfortable in talking about their mental health for various reasons. And sometimes we might be worried about them because we've seen some kind of change in their behavior, in the work that they're doing, in their attitudes. That's concerning for us. So in this case, what's your guidance, I guess, in talking to someone that you might think is perhaps having an issue with their mental health at the moment?
Yeah, that's a difficult one for a lot of people. And sometimes they may think I'm being nosy or I'm intruding. But when you do notice that a person may be experiencing mental health care, offer to meet with the person, to raise your concerns in private. offer support. Approach the person, and offer support to the person is important. Make the person's safety your priority, your first priority. Assure the person that it's confidential, that you're there to help them. Accept and respect the person's feelings and experiences. Don't probe and try to figure out, a diagnosis or illness. That's not our role to do there, right? So approach the concern maybe at first as maybe a workplace performance issue, maybe something you let the person know. I've noticed, things lately that you're not going to meetings or you're not participating as you normally do in meetings and that, Is there anything on the go or going on with you, to tell me a little bit what may be happening, right? Yeah. Let the person know, that you're concerned, right? Remain focused and avoid overreacting to what the person says. And we all tend to minimize or fix it for the person. So we don't want to, tell the person, offer some glib advice. Oh, you'll get through it. Right. Or, you'll manage, right? So don't minimize it. Validate what the person is going through. It's a real mental health issue, right? Offer to collaborate with the person, what can we do together to get help? Let the person know that you're there to help them. If there are any resources in your workplace, offer that to the person. Let the person know about some of them. So if there's the EFAP program, Employee and Family Assistance Program, are there any professional help that may be useful to the person? Or are there community resources out there or any online resources, right? Yeah. If there's a referral process to your EFAP program, let them know about it. Let them know it's confidential. Your manager doesn't need to know about it. If you've used the EFAP program, endorse it to the person. Yeah. Let them know that I've used it before and found it helpful. Right. Let them know it's normal to use it. And again, set a time to, talk to the person again. It's not a one and done process. So you want to make sure you follow up with the person, check in with the person, see how they're doing. We're not checking up on them in terms of how they're doing with the work. We're checking in with them. How are they doing, right? Exactly. So that's our focus on the person's safety and mental health is our first priority.
So important in creating that supportive work environment. Yes. When someone feels comfortable in talking to us, or we've had that that initial question. They weren't comfortable at first, but now when we ask them again, they are starting to feel more comfortable with us. It's important that we really listen to them so we can understand what it is that they need, not what we think that they need, but what it is that they need. Many communication experts call this active listening. And I know, if you Google active listening, you'll get 1 million hits of what it is. So in your words, what is active listening and how do you teach someone to be an active listener?
So active listening basically shows the speaker you're engaged. It involves more than just hearing what they're saying, but letting the person know that you're listening. And you can show that you're listening by, our body language, our demeanor, the responses that we make to the person to let them know that they're being heard. So you wanted to show that show the person that you're fully focused by paying attention. And the goal of active listening is to acquire some accurate information from the person to understand them and their situation. So you not only hear what the person is saying, but you understand their message and what they're trying to communicate, what they're going through. Yeah. And there's a lot of ways things we can do to improve our active listening skills. Some basic ones, that we're probably aware of, but sometimes we don't always practice them. So face the person, maintain eye contact. Ensure that you and the person are at the same level. Like if the person is standing or sitting, you want to make sure that you stand or sit with them at the same level. Put aside any distractions. If you got any papers on your desk or you're doing any files or close your computer If someone comes in, just close your laptop and give the person your undivided attention.
Right. Put do not disturb on
Put
your
do not
phone.
disturb on, right? Or turn off your phone. Let me turn off my phone for a second.
Exactly.
Or let me close the door for a second.
Yes.
Relax while you're making eye contact with them so that they can see that you are interested in what you have to say. So filter out any distractions and focus on what they are saying. Instead of maybe their speech or their mannerisms or that, focus on really on what they're saying. And also pay attention to body language and the nonverbal cues that the person may indicate to us. So nonverbal communication makes up almost about half, of our what someone says, right? So nonverbal communication, as we know, is eye contact. Our body movements, posture, space, or touch. Facial expressions. So people can communicate a lot by their actions.
Yeah.
So observing a person's body language can help us get meaning behind the words, what they're saying. Listening to their tone, their volume, or their pitch in their voice can help us interpret what they're saying. Mm-hmm. Be open-minded. So again, be receptive to new ideas and arguments or information that the person is telling us, even though it may be different from us. Empathize with the person. Be curious. Listen to what they're saying, Try to find understanding in the person's feelings and beliefs. Let the person finish without interrupting. Don't try and finish the person's sentences for them, right? If you get off track with the person, bring the conversation back to what our original concern was, right? If you ever get out of sync with a person, you can always get back in sync. So just bring the conversation back to what you were talking about, paraphrasing what is being said, you know? And that's a great way to clarify what you heard and clears up any misunderstanding. So it also lets the person know that, what they've said to you is important and you want to get it right.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you're getting it right. Empathy is the big one at the end. So try to put yourself in a person's situation to feel what they are feeling, right? Identify any emotions you notice and convey understanding to the person what you're seeing in them, right? So your ability to be empathetic lets the person know you acknowledge and understand what they're going through and thinking and feeling. We always try to humanize and normalize their feelings. So what I mean by that is humanize. Let the person know that, it's totally understandable that you feel this way,
That's right.
given what you've told me, right? Normalize, a lot of people going through what you've told me would be, upset or stressed or,
And as you've told us, 1 in 3 Canadians.
1 in 3 Canadians
are experiencing a mental health issue in the course of a year.
Absolutely.
So they are not alone.
And it's even higher now because of COVID. So normalize and humanize it for the person, right? There's a great video by a lady, Bernie Brown, a social worker, and people might have heard of her. It's one that she does on empathy versus sympathy. And it talks about understanding the perspective of others and staying out of judgment.
Yes.
And recognizing emotions in others and communicating that emotion back to the person. So a lot of the time is that just doing that builds the connection. And then some other things we talk about, is asking questions, to the person. Make sure your questions are appropriate and focus on what the person is saying. And give regular feedback to the person. Let them know that you're following and you understand what's being said or your interest, Tell me more about that. So these are all things that we can do to show the person that we're listening, things that we can all learn.
Exactly.
Just by practicing them, right?
Yeah. Communication is so important in everything that we do, not just in the workplace, but in life, in our family relationships, our friend relationships. So, and the active listening is a huge part of that.
Yeah.
Well, I think that we've certainly covered a lot of good information here today. And, words, we've got little words, we've got big words. But you know what? At the end of the day, the words that we use to describe our mental health, to describe mental illness is very powerful.
Absolutely.
And again, I'm going to reiterate that it's critical that the language that we use is based on civility and it's based on respect. When we use that type of language, then we're able to build trust and collaboration between everybody in the workplace and have those positive relationships.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you, Deanne, for having me back again. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Some really great information that was shared today. And until next time, have a healthy and safe day.
Thank you, folks, and stay well.
Thank you for joining us today. Transcripts are available to use in your workplace to increase workers' knowledge in various occupational health and safety topics. Visit workplacenl.ca for more information on the services we provide to workplaces. Feel free to share the signal on social media to improve workplace health and safety everywhere. Thank you, and have a safe and healthy day.